It's the most wonderful time of the year. Lottery winners have been announced. And I don't know if y'all saw as much fuck shit in your calendar last week as I did in your timeline. I'm watching people who I know ain't been doing anything announce that they just won a space in the New York lottery or in the Boston Marathon. And I'm like, that's bless your heart. Because what else can you say to that? Bless your hearts. It's a lot. So if that's you, let's laugh about it together. Okay. Want to make sure that you guys don't feel like I'm giving the rest of the world something I'm not giving you. Office hours is not back yet full time. I am testing out the schedule. So I'm going to put this there. If you won the lottery and you don't want your friends to know, or you won the lottery and you've already announced it to the world and you're freaking out a little bit, feel free to give me a call, or rather, feel free to sign up for a slot here. You can do a 15-minute one-on-one. If it's a Zoom, we'll record it. I won't broadcast it, but I'll record it so that you can keep a copy. That was a feedback I always got years and years ago. It's like, you talk really fast and I was really excited and I don't remember what you said. I was in the conversation, but I didn't process it and I didn't take notes. Okay, so we're going to do it differently. The good thing about Zoom is that it automatically records and I can share it with you afterwards, and you have this thing that lives with you. And I did this with Twitch for a long time. Everything I did lived in one place, and that was really super convenient. But it wasn't always great when I was taking calls from people who really wanted to keep them private. I still would do that, but there's a time and place for both. And I'm trying to figure out, again, what that balance would be in office hours. So there's the link. Feel free to go ahead and sign up. If you have a question that you'd like to answer, you don't even need a reason. If you just want to say hi, or you're like, oh my God, summer, I don't know what to do. Or like I said, you don't need a reason. Maybe you just need a little bit of me going with some sunshine right up your rear end, and I will do that too, y'all. But give me an indication that that's what you need. If you have a question when you fill out the form, tell me what that question is. If you just need some sunshine in your booty, put sunshine booty. That's enough. And you can tell me what's going on. You don't have to. I will just blow sunshine your way. Literally, you don't have to say a word. Just like, I just need this, and I will do that. And you know this because I've done it before, and I'm finally in a place where I can do it again for everyone, especially you, and you. So there you go. Office hours. If you know anybody who won the marathon lottery and is too ashamed to say anything, give them that link too, and tell them to talk to me. You don't even have to tag me in it. You don't have to ask my permission. Share that link. Share it on your Facebook page. Share it with your friends. Share it with friends. Don't let friends do stupid shit alone. And no one does stupid shit like runner friends. I've done some really terrible things like ultra marathons that no one was prepared for. And I'm like, oh, I'll just go with my foam roller and pick up the pieces. I got a bunch of women who decided to listen to Susan, who's no longer on social media, so I can throw her under the bus anytime I want. Susan talked all these people into going to this middle of nowhere, New Jersey, and running laps around a parking lot at the state fairground. It's called 3 Days at the Fair. Turned out to be epic, but 50 miles around a parking lot is still hard. And though I like to think everybody was well prepared, I showed up to that. So no one does stupid like runners. And I'm here for all your stupid, all the stupid, all the time. Tell me what your stupid is, and let's work it out. We can find a way. I can't promise it's going to be the most glorious race ever. But like I said in the other broadcast I just did, I can make sure that you're as prepared as you can possibly be, and to have a really great day at the end of a really crappy year. So the only person I fully expect in this entire program that would be ready to actually enter a marathon training cycle right now is Karen Schluter, or maybe Amy Wilson. But Amy Wilson just ran a marathon, so I'm hoping she's going to wait a little bit longer. That's not pressure, Amy Wilson. I'm just saying, fully expect you to not be one of the people who you're getting ready for Millinocket. That's what you do. You do Millinocket. I'm not worried about you entering all these random lotteries because you got races that you love. But I do fully expect that Karen Schluter is going to be like, me, I'm in and I'm ready. And that's great. That is great. But she is pretty much the only person that I think is in a good spot, because I know her and that's what she does. She's a machine. She never stops, literally. If you don't follow her on Instagram, you need to. So tell you that, tell y'all this. If your name is not Karen Schluter, which is pretty much all of you, and you won the lottery, or you're just you're seeing other people doing this thing that feels kind of normal and you want to talk it out, let me know. Click the link. Let's chat. Why not? But tell you all that to tell you this. It's my favorite time of week. Hopefully it is yours too. Not just the most wonderful time of the year, it's the most wonderful time of the week where everybody asks me questions and I pretend I have answers, while acknowledging that what I do have is a really amazing earring collection and maybe a Poshmark addiction, hence the new shirt. Love this color. Here, I got some really good questions for tonight, so I'm going to pull out my amazing glasses, which I did not realize looked so much like what Kira Sedgwick wore in The Closer until I started watching The Closer the other night. Super excited. I love that show. It's shows up on HBO Max now for reasons I will never completely understand. But here we go. My big old glasses, my big old earrings, and my big blue shirt. Talking to you. Got some weekly wins first in rebuild. Kristen Frazier's daughter graduated from high school. That's not a win. That's a loss. She's moving away. I hope she goes to school really close and is over every day for lunch and laundry. Tell you what. Or is she going to school where you work? I would love that. Maybe not everybody would love that, but I crave my kids when they're not around, and I would love to be able to meet them for lunch every single day if they weren't living with me anymore. Anyway, let us know either way. Ann Rich has accepted that she can't do all the things and is getting help where she needs to, so she's less exhausted and stressed. She's looking forward to starting Sunburn. Yay for good decisions all the way around, Ann Rich. You and Brenda Haskell are two of the people in these programs who are carrying a much larger load than many of us will ever understand. So, and I say that again with love. There's a lot going on in your household and you manage it with the plum. How you are still standing is beyond me. You are one of the people I think of when I say over and over, most people will never know how much strength it took you to get through this day, let alone to get here. So in those moments when your knees buckle, you see yourself as weak because your knees buckled with zero regard for the load that you're carrying. I'm proud of you for giving yourself that space. I wish you would celebrate yourself a little bit more, but it's fine because I will. And I will do it here and I will do it publicly for as long as I humanly possibly can. Thank you for being here. I'm excited for you to start Sunburn too. And yeah, get all the help. Do you know how nice it is that we have some help now? We don't have fancy vacation money. We don't have other things, but we have someone who does the dishes every day or 5 days a week when she's here. We have someone. That same person helps the laundry, and it's amazing. And I still can't believe she's in our lives, and I love Haley for it. So I tell you that to tell you this. It is a luxury. It's a privilege to be able to afford it. But if you have the ability and you have the bandwidth and you could use the help, there ain't nothing wrong with it. Go get it. Maintain. Brenda Haskell is learning how to watercolor paint. That is going to serve you well in Southwest when you move, Brenda Haskell. I'll tell you what, I'm excited for you. The other thing that's going to serve you well, I got to tell you this. All right, so when you get you'll realize that there is this thing, sand drawings. It's an art form, and it's really popular, especially around here. And it's literally a table of sand, and you put your fingers in it. We're whole tools, and you just create sand art, take pictures, start over, almost like a Zen garden. This is popular, especially in the preschools too, but it's a legit art form. But the preschools do it a lot. And now that Violet's been kicked out of preschool, she decided that she was going to make one of those tactile sand projects in our kitchen floor one day while I was in the bathroom. And she did it with cayenne pepper and a thing that we usually use to baste the turkeys in for our turkey fry each year, which is also really spicy. It's like a Cajun spice. So I come into the kitchen and she's sitting there with sneezing and not caring and just slinging this stuff all over the place, and trying to clean it up was a disaster. Do you have any idea what it's like to vacuum up all this and then try to clean your floor? And so you've got the wet remnants in your bare feet, soaking in through the pot. That type of burn on your feet feels like coals, y'all. It was horrifying. So I tell you that to tell you this. If you end up doing the watercolor paint is safe, stick with that. Oh my God. Even if you have grandkids at some point, they will not be able to do to you what they can do with sand paint and what Violet did to my feet later. So yay for good decisions. Good for you. Can't wait for you to come out this part of this neck of the woods, because it'll just give us a reason to have a road trip to come to wherever you're at. Trisha Thorne is getting to meet up in person with a group of women she's been doing virtual meetups with throughout the pandemic. Yay, you, Trisha. That's so cool. Tell us how it goes. Share the pictures. Share it on social. I want to hear all about it. That's super exciting. Coach Nikia is feeling stronger since she has added cycling and strength to her workout regime. I bet you stronger, Nikia, but I also bet you tired. because you weren't doing strength before. Now that you got your Peloton app, you haven't stopped doing strength. Sometimes you stop long enough to sleep, which I think is phenomenal. But I'm ignoring that screams from downstairs. Somebody else is going to take care of it. Doesn't really matter. Anyway, here we go. Moving on to the questions. Help! I think maybe I increased my mileage too quickly. I was feeling great and decided to just go for it. The top of my foot feels bruised in running shoes that I've been using without issue for a couple of months already. I've been adding extra cushion under the tongue of my shoes and I can run pain-free, but now I seem to be experiencing posterior shin splints. Oof, the pain is only when I run, never throughout the day. What do you think? Do I need to take some time off? My gut instinct, honestly, is no. So one of the reasons, and I had a video about this a long time ago, and I need to re-film it and bring it back out because long separate story, doesn't really matter. The main reason that most runners have issues with the top of their foot comes down to not mileage, but the shoe that they're wearing. If you've ever heard me in the past, I've talked about the squish test, and the squish test is really important if you're thinking that you're going to be running in the rain. And I talked a lot in the past about the squish test, usually around the Houston Marathon, because it tends to totally downpour during the Houston Marathon. It's that one window of the year when you just know you're going to get pounded in Houston. I used to call it hurricane season. Although there's no hurricane season really in Houston. But when you live there, you just accept that January is going to have a whole lot of rain, a whole lot of hail. It's going to be really unpredictable, but when it starts, it's not going to stop. And for reasons passing understanding, it almost always tends to happen on the only day that I can recall in recent history, and that's like the past 10 years, that Houston Marathon had perfect ideal weather throughout, was 2012 when they had the Olympic trials there. I remember because I was there. I was living in Houston. I was pregnant. I was there watching. But that aside, so the 2012, it was the 2012 Olympic trials that was in February, correct, for what had been later. So I tell you that to tell you this. When it comes to the reason the squish test matters is that anything that is cushiony in your shoe, once it becomes wet, is going to feel like a rock. It's going to feel really heavy because anything that is squishy is going to be like a sponge that'll absorb all the water. Why am I telling you this, and what does that have to do with your feet? Well, the only time I can get people to think about it is when they're running in the rain, and they definitely don't want that on their feet. The rest of the time, runners tend to go for good marketing, and I get it, and that is a shoe that is cushioned all the way around. My issue with that, with a really, really cushioned shoe, is that a lot of that padding tends to be in places where your body doesn't want it to be. One is around the neck of the shoe where your foot goes in, and the other is in that top part of the shoe. Because every time your foot strikes the ground, your brain and your neuromuscular system is seeking input from the ground. How stable is where I'm landing? How stable is it? We have reams of data and studies that have been shown that the more cushioned the shoe, the less responsive the shoe, the harder your foot's going to strike the ground looking for that input. Okay. So most people need a modicum of cushion on the bottom, but then we'll go and take out the insole and put in like super cushion insoles, and then put on these super thick socks, and then put their foot in a shoe that is like cushioned all the way around. And then you aren't cognizant almost of how tight you have to tie that shoe to keep it from moving around on your foot, because this is the final piece. If your foot is sliding back and forth in the shoe, your toes are going to curl, and that's going to cause all of these problems up your posterior chain, starting with posterior shin splints. Not anterior shin splints, the ones in the front, posterior shin splints on the side. So that is when your toes are curling, your foot's not striking, your glutes are also not going to be engaging and doing their job, which is why your toes are curling. That's gripping, looking for stability in a place that's not providing the input that your brain and body need. So Maybe this has nothing to do with you, but I would suspect that what's happening at the top of your foot, one, the muscles, and there are muscles in there, they're just really little, they're going to be super duper strained from all of this that's going on in your shoe. So I wouldn't say that you need to like specifically take time off, but if I were you, I would go see a good PT, preferably one with the OCS certification who's also able to do dry needling and manual therapy, and talk to them about this, because I've had this problem before, and I've had that part of my foot dry needled, and it's painful while they do it. But once it's over, it's amazing. It's truly an incredible experience. So I would try to do that if that's available to you. Two, I would double check what's going on your feet. How thick are your socks? Do they need to be that thick? How tightly am I tying my shoes to keep it all on through the cushion? Maybe I could do with a little less cushion, either a lighter sock or a different shoe that has a thinner or less cushioned upper. I know in the past I've talked about how much I love my ons, and when I was super fit, you know what? I did love my ons. I am not super fit right now, you guys, and my ons are not amazing. But I have been running in a pair of Adidas Boston Boost that I got for $20 at a sale from Boulder Run Company. Boulder Run Company, by the way, has the most amazing sales ever. They will just get to the end of the season and be like, everything's $20 or $50. Come if you're willing to like dig through the piles or, you know, really carefully look through the table. That's what I did. I was dogged about it because I knew I needed new shoes. And the Boston Boost were pretty fantastic, again, for $20. I can't, the uppers are thin, but that tends to happen with everything in the Adidas line. I just don't love, they're not responsive enough a shoe for me, broadly and generally speaking. So I don't spend a lot of time in Adidas's, but nevertheless, one of the things that they absolutely do get right is very little cushion around the neck, very little cushion in the upper. And it's possible to get that while getting a supportive sole. The sole might be too cushiony for you. And if so, there are a couple other things I could recommend. Nike is actually doing pretty good work, and I like shudder and cringe and make faces when I have to say that word. I hate Nike and with the fire of 1,000 suns, but they do create a couple of shoes kind of well. Another one is the Saucony Type A. The Saucony Type A or fast twitch shoe. The fast twitch shoe is a road spike. The Type A shoe is a very, very, very light shoe. It's probably more responsive, not enough sole. It's probably too responsive for your tastes. But if you go try it on and feel that upper is what I'm talking about. And then hand it to the person at the shoe store and say, I want an upper like this, and I want a sole like, find a sole that you like, and kind of put it together. I want as little crap on the top as possible with as much support on the bottom as possible. What have you got? And they will be able to give you options. I know this because I send people and do that all the time, and I'm that person too. I'm a real pain in the butt. Go be a pain in the butt. It's your money. These are your feet. Whatever you put on them needs to work for you. So that is sort of where I started. I don't think you mentioned vamp disease in here. I don't think you have that. I don't think you have it. I think the problem that you have really comes down to something simple and biomechanical that we can make, because it only happens when you run. If it was something more like vamp disease, we'd be seeing it presenting in other places too. But since it's only happening when you run, that's letting me know that it's probably something we're doing either to prepare you for the run or during the run itself. And the most noticeable thing would be your shoes. So almost everything that comes on that pain on the top comes from literally from shoes being tied way too tight. If you are not in a position where you can buy new shoes or socks and you don't want to change anything, make sure when you tie your shoes, you can pull the tongue up and down and put a good finger in as far into the shoe as you can in between the tongue and the top of your sock. And hold it there for a second. And if that feels really tight or cuts off your circulation to your finger or your foot, then you know it's probably something you're doing there. So that might be a cheaper test, but hey, it could also be an excuse to go shopping or get out of the house. I know that there are days like this where I'm looking for an excuse to get out the house, and if it was an excuse to go but try on shoes, buddy, I'd be excited. So I don't think you need to take time off it, but I do think we need to immediately, like today or tomorrow, start addressing whatever's happening with your shoe care. If none of this helps, go ahead and sign up for office hours and let's talk it out. Hi, Coach. My heart rate monitor finally bit the dust. I'm wondering about the MyZone fitness trackers. Do you have any experience with them? Nope, sorry. Could the zones be used to monitor easy effort and high effort portions of the program? I don't know. I am sorry I did not look into this before we started. I would have at least Googled it. But broadly and generally speaking, any heart rate monitor can and will work. I wear the Polar Vantage V, and I have an H10 monitor that came with I've had that. I got that before I got the Polar Vantage V, and it's a little more expensive, but it works really well with my Peloton. It has ANT and Bluetooth, which is usually when you're getting a cheaper heart rate monitor, you don't have broadcasting options in that monitor. And TLDR, there are broadcasting options with the Polar H10, and it works with just about everything. So if that can work in your budget, that's always what I would recommend. Again, I don't know about MyZone, but I will look into it a little bit more. And if you can, so this is in rebuild. So I will look into this a little bit more, and then Coach Nakia or I will come into rebuild and mention this after we've done a little research. But I can't think of any reason. I don't trust zones in general, and I don't trust other people's zones. Part of that comes from the fact that your heart is a muscle, and if we rep it to failure, you die. And we really don't want that to happen. So everything that has to do with heart rate zones are predicated on one of two super flawed formulas that either are contingent upon having an absolute figure for your max heart rate, the point at which where you die, or configured on a resting heart rate that is basically a moving target that can fluctuate a lot day to day, depending on how stressed you are, how much sleep you got last night, how overtrained you are, which is why I don't really do zone training. I say when it comes to your heart, the best thing you can do for it is not stress it out unless it needs to be stressed out. There's a specific purpose for it. If you were to take a statistical view of the entire human population for an age of 17 and over, you'd find that at 140, everyone is doing an easy effort run. So, and if you've run by heart rate at all ever, then you also know how like tightly calibrated those zones are. 3 beats and you're no longer in zone 3, you're in zone 4 or almost zone 5. If you've ever been running at all, or much less watched your heart rate while you were doing it, you know that those fluctuations of 5 or 10 beats that can speed you up or slow you down a lot, because we're not machines. We're not elites. We're not professional runners. We're hobby joggers. We do this for fitness. We do it for fun. We would like to see results, but we are not anywhere near that fine-tuned level of fitness that you see for people at the Olympics who, they can probably do their entire run within a standard deviation of 2 to 3 heartbeats, right? That's not me. So it's probably not you either. So I tell you that to tell you this. This is why the zones training in all the zones works really well if you are multi-sporting, if you are super duper fit. But for the rest of us, it's not like it's ineffective. It's just a whole lot of hard and so restrictive that you might not enjoy what you're doing anymore. So I'm not familiar with the MyZone zones. What I will say, and the only thing I care about, is that anything that is defined as an easy effort run, the effort, your heart rate, is at or below 140. Why? Because I fully expect all y'all to treat it like a speed limit, and you're going to try to be at 140, which means your heart rate's actually going to be higher. Still, we are going to be, the further away you are from 140, the less likely you are to be having an easy effort run. I'm not going to be like upset I'll get mad at y'all. I don't. But I'm not going to let you kid yourself either. You run in at 160, that's a race. 155, that's a race. 150, okay. But the float between 140 and 150, if you're really into the song or the conversation with the person you're running with, that kind of drift can happen. It's about keeping most of it at a controlled place, which is in control, being trying to aim for 140 and under. That is going to yield you the best result, because our easy days are easy, then we can make our hard days really hard and get a lot out of them. But if we're not recovering, all we're doing is going hard, and we're not actually stressing our muscles out in a sophisticated way that's going to bring about the results that we deserve for the effort we put in. And my final note on this is there is an absolute psychological component to this that none of the researchers account for. So when I look at, say, the rate of perceived exertion, and that is kind of hailed as like the truest benchmark, there's a piece of it that as a society we've not been belies a conversation that we've only just started having as a society, and that's who's allowed to say that hurts. Who's allowed to say that hurts and back off without being punished for it in a sports situation, and as a professional athlete? Like when you look at, again, Nike and Mary Kane, and she was physically breaking down, and they were like, "You're weak and you suck and you're fat," and told her to eat less and that would solve her problems. Like that's not a sophisticated answer to a sophisticated runner. I really feel like all of us deserve better than that, because better obviously exists, but it's not what is bred in us. That this whole idea of diet culture and fitness culture and hustle culture converge on fitness, where we demand to see the output in the form of our own body. And I have a real problem with that, because it tells you that less is more and harder is better de facto always, and that's not analysis. So when we say like rate of perceived exertion, I've been with runners who've been like, "This is so easy. I'm totally talking." And I'm like, "No, you're huffing and puffing. You're failing the talk test right now." "I don't fail test." Stop for a second. And it's a lot to take in, because they don't want to admit that this is too hard or it hurts. And that's valid, because they've been in situations before where they were punished for admitting that. I've been in those situations where I'm punished for saying that, and I'm a grown-ass woman. I've been in those situations recently. So I tell you that to tell you this. Those studies don't take the sociology, or any anthropological data into account. They just say, "Oh, men are very good at estimating their effort," as opposed to boys are very good at estimating their effort, and women have never been allowed to actually pay attention to their own effort and ignore their bodies ever. So this is why we can't run this test on women. And we're finding out that actually there's a lot of those same pressures apply to men too. So at the end of the day, almost everyone that I coach has never truly run easy. They've never been allowed to. They've never felt like that was enough. They finish their jog and they think like that wasn't a workout, or they look at the calories, the number that they burned. Please don't ever do that. And they're freaking out because they didn't think they burned enough. And that's just not how the human body works. It's not calories in, calories out. It's not to think about what you eat and everything will be fine. It's a lot more sophisticated, with a whole lot of variables that are very hard to control for in a clinical/laboratory type environment. So if you worry less about the caloric expenditure and try not to think about that, then you're more likely to be honest with yourself about that easy effort run. And even if it slows you down a lot, it won't hurt. You might even enjoy it. You'll look back over the course of a week and you'll see that if by running like this, you're able to run 5 days a week. And you know what? You're not going to hate it. You might even look forward to it. You can take phone calls while you do it, because you're going to be passing the talk test. And it might be that thing that's been missing for a really long time. So that might feel like it has nothing to do with my zone. But I want you to really understand why I don't trust zones and why I don't use them. I teach everyone this is easy effort. De facto easy. I do not care where you are. You can be at 112. That's easy. 120, still easy. 140, easy. 150, pushing it. And further up, absolutely not. So rather than prescribe something really hard, I tell everyone, let's get used to easy. Let's really learn to feel it. And then in the harder workouts that I give you each month, it gives you a chance to play around with different effort levels, kind of like gears in a car. This is what first gear feels like. This is what second gear feels like. This is what sixth gear feels like. If you guys watch Mythic Quest, it's one of my favorite TV shows on Apple TV. I love it. This week there was an episode about how the founder of this founder of this video game company, this Silicon Valley billionaire, can't drive a stick. And it's hilarious to watch. But I watch that and I think that's how so many people are with their own bodies, because they've been taught to give the right answer, not to do the thing that's best for them. So they have no idea how to feel these effort levels in their body. They have no idea what to do when they feel pain, or have been given permission to back off when something feels a little too hard or is a little too much. So if MyZone is set up in a way that will do that for you, amazing. Otherwise, anything that reads your heart rate and can beep at you when you've gone over, say, 145, which would be roughly 5% above your range, like it'll beep at you to like back off and slow down, then you're going to be cooking with Crisco and you're going to be in a really good place. So, or if you just want to get it, great, go ahead and get it. I mean, I will never tell you not to shop, in case you can't tell. So that was a word salad. But I feel that the easy effort and high effort portions of the program are just going to be based off of effort. So there's no hard, super hard effort, really. Like I don't do the traditional type of like, I mean, I could, but if I send you like doing hill repeats, right, and you don't have the glute strength to properly propel you up the hill, all we're going to do is tear your knees up. And I'm not here to judge where you are. I'm like, there are less risky ways of getting exactly what we need from hill repeats or hill sprints. We can do so many other things. Why would we do that one default hard thing that you've heard of because the people who were super fit and wanted to win the Olympics wrote the original training plans, and that's all that's churned out anywhere, right? That this is what the event demands. You cannot train for a marathon without hill sprints. Have you looked at a marathon? There are like 55,000 people running the New York City Marathon, and maybe a tenth of them, maybe, have the glute strength required to do hill sprints. The rest of us, we can go and prepare and have a great day without doing the hard stuff that causes shin splints and hurts your knees and makes you not want to do running the next day. So yeah, my hard is never going to be that hard, but that doesn't mean it won't work. So all I care about is that you make sure that your easy is actually easy. Now that's all of rebuild. 45 minutes later, over in maintain. Hey, Coach MK, near the end of my longer runs, oops, I'm old. Near the end of my longer runs, I get this burning sensation in the ball of my dominant foot. Not a burning pain, just an uncomfortable warmth. Any idea what this might be from or how I can alleviate this? Generally, when that comes, the midsole of your shoe is busted, and it might be time for a new pair of shoes. That's my first response. The second one is that you could be having some fatigue going on further up the posterior chain. So what I would want you to do is go grab a towel. It could be a dish towel, it could be a hand towel. If you really have nothing else but a big towel, because the person asked this question is the guy, and you're like, what are small towels? I only have small. I don't do anything small. Why would a dude have hand towels in his house? I get that. So go get whatever towel-like thing you have, t-shirt, throw it on the floor, and then try to scrunch it with your toes. Keep your heel on the floor. Keep the ball of your foot on the floor, and just use your toes to get enough purchase that you could lift your leg with the knee bent and lift that thing off the floor. How does that feel? If that is super painful, that's going to tell us a lot too. Then that you might have, there are several little bones that make up the ball of your foot, and you might just need to go see a physical therapist who can do like a quick, it literally is that fast, and there's a bone out of place, and that'll put it right back in. That could be it. I'm not saying that is it, but that could be it. And generally when there is a feeling of discomfort that you can't quite articulate in the ball of your foot, that's what it comes from. And it is exacerbated by glutes not engaging on the opposite leg. So if this is happening on your left foot, then your right foot is not, then your right glute is not engaging specifically when you run. And so to alleviate that, what I would do is, again, work on glutes a lot. The chair test is my favorite. If you can find, we'll find the link for that on YouTube and put it in. But the chair test is basically, can you rise out of a chair on one leg without having to lean forward and get like any momentum going, right? Can you just lift with the force of one glute? And I'm guessing on your dominant side, you're still not necessarily, on your non-dominant side, you can't pass that test. So spend some time working on that. See the PT if you can. I'm not overly concerned about this, but I would like to nip it in the bud sooner rather than later if a PT is available to you. Again, not a huge deal, but if this goes on for a while, then it can cause bigger problems up the chain, and we just rather not if we don't need them. Because I hear some people won the marathon lottery and might need to start training soon. Howdy, I'm feeling stuck in both my sternum and thoracic spine areas. Oof. I got a PT appointment scheduled for some body work, but the earliest appointment with my PT isn't for several more weeks. Any thoughts on how to self-release or do fascia work in that area myself? FYI, if it makes any difference, I don't have a job where I sit at the computer during the day. I'm standing and moving around. Okay, if you're standing and moving around, you still are probably not spending a lot of time with people at eye level, meaning you're probably still like either bent over looking at little people who look up at you, or bending over a little bit if you're like a nurse and you're reading blood pressure, putting on the cuffs and whatnot. You might not, there are lots of jobs where you might not be sitting kind of like I'm sitting right now for an hour, but you are still having to, you're not necessarily standing up straight either, right? There's a whole range of positions you could be in. So with that thoracic spine, the two things that I would want you to do, let me see if I have it in here. Violet has taken over my room. Okay, this is not stretchy, but we're just going to make do with it because I don't know where she put my loops. I've got all her Paw Patrol toys. Anyway. We're just going to pretend this is a resistance band. So, I'm going to use this. Okay. My husband's orange theory. So sit forward on your chair. We just want the sits bones on the edge of the chair. Roll your shoulders back. Exhale, lock your cage. Remember, we're just drawing the lower part of our shoulder blades together. With this in our hand, at elbow level, we're just going to pull outward. So not here, but it's trying to get you awkward. Glad I'm wearing pants today, y'all. Yay. That would be awkward if I'd forgotten. But sitting up straight, pull outward on that thing. And you should feel some pressure in your thoracic spine in the middle of your back, right in between your shoulder blades, isolating those muscles. So you want something a little bit longer than this, I was looking for, because you want to kind of go all the way out here. If you can, you don't want a whole lot of resistance. You really want to keep the band light. So starting here, pulling out this here, slower and controlled, work the resistance. And then if you have the opportunity, like take this, if it was longer, attach it to a door, and then pull it backward like this. And those two exercises can help support the muscles that support your thoracic spine and would take some of the pressure off of your sternum. That's where I would start, but and hopefully let me know if that does any good. Be sure you foam roll before and after, all the way to your lower back, all the way up to your spine. I know I need to do another foam rolling demonstration. I will do that. I'll add that to the list of things we're trying to get done for the summer. But more than anything, that doing that foam rolling on your thoracic spine is going to be super helpful. And the last piece, and I know, dang it, she took my ball away. If you have a squish ball, if you've done any of my previous slow burn or especially this last round slow burn program, I asked everyone to get like a soccer size ball and only have it inflated about 75%. In Pilates, they just call them the squish balls. We can do a lot with it. What I would do is lay on the floor, like you're about to, with your knees up, like you're about to lift your booty into a bridge position, and then put that squish ball, rise and put it right under in your back here against your thoracic spine, and then let your shoulders like sink to the floor. That's going to feel amazing. I'll try to take a couple of pictures of that, make sure it makes sense. That my description, that all these words I'm throwing you make any sense whatsoever. That's the beauty of video. If only I had things in here I could do demonstrations. But I digress. I will go find them and do the demonstrations, because that's what it means to be coached and loved and winning at life. And remember, if you want to talk a little bit more while I try to figure out my schedule and make sure that all this is going to work with HRH and Baby Violet, go ahead and sign up for office hours. grab a slot. We can talk this through in more detail, and I can demonstrate things for you on Zoom too. Let me know if you have any questions. Either way, that's all we've got for the week. If you are watching Mayor of Easttown and you're as into it as I am, let me know what you think of episode 6. I know it's airing in an hour, and I'm like, what am I going to do for the next hour while I wait for the show to come on? If you aren't sure what to watch next, if you have Apple TV, go get you that free trial subscription and watch the new the Me You Can't See. It is, I can't say enough good things about it. This is going to change the way we talk about and think about mental health, and I love it. I'm here for it. It's the special with Oprah and Prince Harry, and he also spills some gossip about the royal family too, which is kind of fun. I'm here for all of that. Woo! Either way, I'm here for everything, especially you, because I love you. So it means to be coached and loved. Winning in May. June will be coming up later this week. Do not forget to sign up for Sunburn. Last thing, I will not see you guys next week because my family and my husband decided that we are going to drive to Park City. Very good friends. One of my bridesmaids in my wedding has just moved to Park City. So we're going for Memorial Day weekend. We're driving somewhere. Bless our hearts. That is this 8-hour drive away. So I'm going ahead and calling it now. I will probably not be able to do Ask Away next Sunday night, but we will still do it, more than likely, barring tragedy, the following week. Either way, see you in 2 weeks. Everybody else, if you sign up for office hours, you get to see me sooner. Yay, you. Have a good one, y'all.